So we received the final development plan and the geotech report. Did go through and review. I will say that I did a pretty lengthy review of things that I make sure that I pointed out items that I thought, obviously they are meeting the requirements of the final development plan. But I pointed out some things in my review that I felt to make sure that they understood the things that I wanted to review once we got more details on the engineering side. And so specifically, it was a lot of my review focused on the drainage. Obviously, it's got to go through Hampton County infrastructure, but I did have several comments on constructability of drainage. I'm not saying that it isn't constructible, I'm just saying things that I want to look at. And the sediment and erosion control during construction. The geotech report had several recommendations as far as construction. We talked about before. My point in my review is just that those need to be followed. There was some inspection requirements in that. I think that those were my points in the review that I made.
Would you, I spoke with Tom and Bob Thursday. Bob Heffenberg, when we talked Thursday?
Friday.
Friday.
Engineering.
Friday.
Was it Friday?
Yeah.
Okay.
1:30.
These are just coming together anymore. And, you know, one of the concerns is, as far as your recommendation that, you know, someone should be on site through this whole process, somebody with geotech and all that. There was some concerns about, the firm that John hired. Not about their expertise, but I think they wanted to have someone outside to actually be on site. If this gets approved and everything, that someone else would be, would you advise or not advise that as far as?
I mean, I think I will say.
The geotech report's a geotech report, an engineer can read it, right? And they know what to expect. I'm just trying to.
I'll say, you know, I do think if there is a want and there were recommendations to have inspection during construction, especially of the fill materials and the, you know, seating and stuff like that, I do think that that is something that you would rather have your inspector work for you than the developer, in my opinion.
One of the things that you mentioned in your report, it says, with such extreme grading changes, is there a need to have a phased sediment control plan or plans? So is there a need for that? And if so, do we have sediment control plans identified?
So there, as part of the design, there will be sediment control plans. The comment is meant to say, you know, as we look at the grading, it may be that it's phased, and that we have different sediment control plans as we build that hillside, build the home. So that was what it was meant to bring into consideration, that that's probably something that we should look at as it's built.
A question concerning the three issues that you mentioned, drainage, the erosion, and the geotech. If any of these reports are in error and bad things happen, excess drainage, excess erosion, geotech, damage not only to the existing properties, but the new properties that happen there, is there insurance for that during the process of the construction and after, or how is that covered? Who's responsible for any damages that result to any unintentional errors in the planning process when it gets built?
I mean, I would say there's always insurance. When many companies, construction companies, there's always insurance to take into account that. And I think you have several layers of review from not only the county's perspective, the village engineer perspective, and then again, talking about the on-site inspections, and make sure that things are being inspected the way that they should and in the manner that they were. And especially if something unforeseen happens while the construction happens. That does happen, that person, that inspector is out there to identify that and work with everyone to come up with a solution.
So saying the liability would fall back on the engineers who created the.
I think in those instances, there is a lot of, there's a lot of discussion over the insurance between the contractor and the union. I can't say for specific, I will say everyone has insurance.
Somebody's liable.
Somebody
Other
would,
than the current existing homeowners in the area.
there's always unforeseen things, I will say that, Max of God, but if there was an error, there is insurance.
In the report, you say that there's no plans for downspout drains, sanitary sewer, water mains, storm sewer, and other things. Will you be getting that, will that come later on, is that the
Yes,
process?
that comes later on in the process.
You did say, added a note here that stated that the sediment control that was shown on the plan are minimum measures, and other measures may be required to control sediment in runoff. So if there are minimum measures, should we be comfortable with that?
No, I think as we get into the design and start looking at, the stage construction and how that's gonna work and how I think that we really looking at the erosion control and sediment control, we will take a look at that and, I don't think we should sit on minimum measures.
But how do we enforce that though? If we approve the final development plan, what authority do we have to enforce?
I think as we go into the next step, and I'll ask, as we go into subdivision, permitting, that's where we get the engineering drawings and there's the back and forth of reviews. But
Correct, yes.
We got, just so everybody knows, we contract with JMA TC as our village engineer. Just like we contract with Hamilton County, so that you know that the village doesn't have an employee who's an engineer. So we rely on them to kind of advise us. And through this whole process, the village engineer, which is JMA TC, will be involved in the process, representing the village. Hamilton County, which represents the village, will also be involved in the whole process. So not only do we have experts in this area, right, but we also have a group of many concerned citizens that are gonna make sure that if this gets approved, that the process is followed the way it should be. Obviously, there's concerns about John. There's concerns about John and his reputation and some of the things he's done in the past. So I think that has a lot to do with the concerns of the citizens as to promising one thing and doing something else. So that's a big part of the concern with this development and having John as part of the development. So we also got to wait. We feel we have to weigh that also from the standpoint of just saying yes or no, or yes with conditions, what have you. So those are my thoughts.
When you reviewed the geotech report, did you have any concerns or questions about the stability of the hill and them removing, 40%, 48% of the woods and, did you have any concerns with the long-term stability of the area? I'm not talking 2 or 3 years, I'm talking 10
Right.
years, 20 years.
I will start and say I am not a geotech engineer. I have reviewed a lot of studies as part of the process. It said things that I expected it to say, especially on a site like this, the inspections, the benching, the pointy bedrock, that kind of stuff. Those are the things I expected it to say with the site to know this.
Good, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so now I will call for any proponent